Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and in today's video let's have a look at the final release version of the iniBuilds A320 Neo. Sim Update 15 has finally dropped, is out of beta, and that means we now have the finished A320 Neo. Well, obviously there might be bug fixes post-release, that is out of question, but we now have the version 1.0 of the iniBuilds A320 Neo available. Do note that when you go into Marketplace you can find a high definition update that also adds the passenger cabin to the aircraft, so if you are on PC then I strongly recommend to download that update, as it really does add quite a lot of details to the aircraft. Now, from here on, let's go straight into the cockpit and get our aircraft flying. I do consider this video a little bit of a first look. It is not a complete review yet, but it is more of a first flight with the release version. So all the impressions you see over here are more or less still new impressions and not a complete review after, doing a lot of flights with the aircraft. Okay, so follow me onto the captain's seat and we're going to start powering it up. This is not a tutorial. I do have a detailed tutorial series on the A320 if you're interested in that. Okay, so let's go ahead and power it up. And while the aircraft is powering up, we are going to go ahead and import our SimBrief flight plan. Over here, we are currently standing at Faro Airport, which is included in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we're going to fly it up to Lisbon from MK Studios. So, let's see, where is our SimBrief flight plan? Not uplinking. Well, that's wonderful. I did put my SimBrief username in here. Well, let's go ahead and try the pilot ID instead. Maybe they changed that between the first version and the release version, and indeed they did. So it's the pilot ID now and no longer the user ID that you enter in there, which is very good because that might add some additional details to what we need later on. Okay, so our flight plan is here, and if we do have a look at that, we can see that weather-wise we need 3,900 kilograms. So if we make that 4,000 kilograms, then we should be more than fine. We're going to uplink our weight data right over here, and we are going to load 4,000 kilograms as we have just briefed. Okay, apply that, and we are going to do that in an instant so that we can get going with our flight and explore what the aircraft is finally going to look like. Now, couple of options over here. Basically, in these settings you can set your SimBrief pilot ID. Note it is the ID now with the numbers and not the username, as we just figured out. Then you've got tail number and cell call. You got your Unix IRS alignment time. That's going to be an interesting one for us to try out in a few moments. You can link your instruments. As you can see, I went for the captain and first officer option because I want to handle the ISIS myself. And you got a couple other options, as you can see over here. If we have a quick look into the throttle settings, this is what it looks like, and this is quite easy. Calibrate, you just click begin calibration, it asks you for all the detents, but you can also do the detents manually if you want to, by simply bringing your thrust levers into the position where you want them and then just clicking the button over here. When you're done, hit close, and that's it. Alright, apart from that, we do have a ground services menu, as you can see over here, so let's go ahead and use that. Okay, maybe open some cargo doors as well, as that might get interesting for our walk around in a few moments. We do have a custom pushback menu down here for those of you who do not have or use GSX. Finally, we can have a look at the payload menu, which is pretty much exactly what you know already. Very nice to see that load sheet down here, by the way, having options like our operating weights, etc. Now, from there, we can load the aircraft into different panel states. We do have a takeoff performance calculator. Unfortunately, no landing, but only takeoff, but hey. And finally, we have the options. No Navigraph charts, unfortunately. I do really hope that they're going to add that in the future, since they already do have SimBrief integration. Now, quick look around the cockpit, you can see that we can handle our sunshades, and apart from that, it is the typical good modeling that we came to expect from iniBuilds. One small thing though that I did notice is that when looking over the main panel and the windows over here, it just seems to me that the windows seem too big in comparison to the size of the main panel. I don't have anything to actually back that up, but it just looks a little bit wrong, if you know what I mean. It just looks like the windows are a little bit too big over here. But it's still a vast improvement over the first version of the aircraft that we had from Microsoft, so over the first A320. Alright, so we now have a basic idea of what our aircraft looks like. We do have, well, still some quite warm temperatures here in mid-May in Faro, so let's go ahead and start up the APU. We're going to do the APU fire test. That's looking good. And then we can run the APU master, count 3 seconds, and then we can hit the starter. Here we go. Okay, so that is that. Then let's go ahead and do our preliminary takeoff data down here. So we're simply going to synchronize this. We will take runway 28 for our takeoff with those winds, and we are going to calculate. Let's see what we have for the weights. We do have our load sheet here already, so plant 0 fuel weight 56 plus 4,000, so we're looking at 60 tons of takeoff weight. Okay, so 60.0. Here we go. Air conditioning can go off, and that's it. Calculate, and as you can see, we have no problem getting out of here whatsoever. Okay, very good then. Let's go ahead and do our rest of the setup then. IRS number 1, 2, and 3. And then we check that our aircraft is fit for use. So we do have, well, rather little oxygen, to be honest. This could be as high as 1,800 psi per bottle. For some reason, they go for 1,800 total, but not per bottle. But, well, sufficient for the flight that we intend to do today. Okay, hydraulic quantity is looking good. It's completely full, and when we look at the engine oil, just gotta turn on the FADEX manually here. Right, FADEX is on, engine oil quantity is looking good. Then we can turn them back off again and close those guards. Very nice, by the way, that they do model this. Really have to say that. I'm really positively surprised. Okay, very good. Then let's just go into the MCDU for a moment, and we are going to see if we can actually use this good stuff now. So, here we got our basic ACARS out, off, on, in status. This basically gives us the most important data of our flight. Down here, messages, nothing in here, and looks like we can still not do anything down here, but that's fine. With that, we'll go forward into the FMGC. Okay, we do have a current database in here. What I very much like as well is that it stores the waypoint that you enter. So when you create a custom engine out waypoint, then it actually stores that in the database, and you can use it on your next flight as well. Obviously, you can delete that stuff down here as well, which is standard operating procedure really, but it is nice that this stuff is being retained. Okay, let's see if the flight plan request works, and indeed it does. That is very cool. Okay, excellent. So now, since our initial uplinks are done, let's just, for the sake of it, see if anything new has been enabled in here. But it doesn't really seem to look like it. Okay, that is fine though. Let's go ahead and do the rest of our setup. After all, we're still talking about a default aircraft here. And for default, I have a feeling this is going to be very, very good. Okay. So, refueling is done already. We have everything we need. Pretty nice sound effect there of the air conditioning coming on. Pretty loud, I have to say. I mean, I fly the A330, not the A320, so I can't tell you for sure, but in the 330 it is much, much more quiet. But then again, that might simply be due to the fact that it is two different aircraft. Okay, so QNH 1013. Okay, that's easy. Even I can do that. Alright, so weather radar wise, not a lot we need to set up over here. This is a little bit more modern weather radar than what you have, for example, on the Phoenix A320. But I do like that fact that we get a little bit modern stuff over here. Okay, so certainly gonna put the thrust levers back into the idle position, otherwise that is going to get pretty, let's call it pretty unhealthy on engine start. Right, so we're doing the Air Portugal flight 1902 today. Cost index 20, flight level 220 is correct, alternate Faro is correct, and the uplink, let's see, Odemi and Vatsi. So we're going to depart off runway 28, and we do have an Odemi departure. We do have several actually. So if we look into the operational flight plan, we can see that Odemi 1 Victor is our planned sit. So let's go for this one. Okay, insert that, and for the arrival we're coming in via Vatsi, and that's going to be an ILS approach runway 02. Let's find the Vatsi 1 Alpha arrival, here it is, and for the approach via it's going to be PASEX, insert that. Okay then, quick look over our flight plan, making sure that everything is actually entered correctly. So just strolling through it, making sure that everything is here. Which it is. Don't worry, looks a lot, but it's not that bad. And that's it. Okay, and I tell you what, we can get rid of that holding over here. Certainly don't intend to fly that. Okay. So that's it. Right, for the secondary flight plan, we'll copy the active. We'll insert the engine out waypoint, which is going to be FAO X2. Not in database. Okay, well, the real one would have opened the window where we can enter that stuff. I kinda had hopes they added it, but as far as I remember, we can still add new waypoints over here, so let's do that now. Faro X2, enter. And we're going to make it a place bearing distance point of the departure runway. Initial course, well, should be listed up here. For some reason it isn't. That is a pity. Well, we'll just make it 280 then. So LPFR 28/280/25. Add that in, store, and here we go. Now we got that new waypoint stored. You can see that from earlier version of the airplane, I still have my Oslo emergency point here as well. And now we have the Faro point as well. Okay, so FAOX2 is what we're going to insert into here. Not offset, but hold. Alright, 277 right-hand turns, that looks good to me. And then we're going to make it an immediate return, new destination, LPFR. Put that into here, arrival. It's going to be an ILS Zulu approach runway 28. No star needed, insert. And that's it, looking very good. Alright then, now let's go for the fix info page. So we go LPFR28, and we'll just make it a 280 radial in order to match our runway track. 25-mile radius ring there for MSA awareness, and finally FAO X2. And that's our emergencies program as well. We don't need anything in the RATNAV page. We can enter our runway waypoint in here, and then we go up to the init page. Now on the init page, if you're lazy, you just click on here and it automatically imports the zero fuel weight and the CG. Now let's try the fuel planning page here and see what the aircraft actually comes up with. Not sure if that just takes a while or if it doesn't work. Let's see. Might just about take a little while. Didn't change our fuel, that's for sure. Well, let's just type in block fuel 4000 if we still can. Looks like we can't. Okay. Well, if it doesn't ask for a block fuel value anymore, then I'm happy with it. Okay, so let's go for our takeoff data. We do have that good stuff calculated already, and we can find that in here. Let's hit send to FMGS. And here it is, automatically uplinked already. We're going to confirm that. Unfortunately, it doesn't do the flap setting and the trim setting, which is a bit of a pity, so we need 0.4 up. Okay, so 1/0.4 up. Let's put that in here. Next phase, we don't need to insert anything over here, that's all good, we'll do the rest in flight. Perfect, and with that our FMS setup is done, and we could more or less completely follow the real-world Airbus SOP. Last thing for us over here would be to store the route. Unfortunately that function is not simulated, but hey. Except for that, we could pretty much exactly follow the real-world Airbus SOP, which is quite cool for a default aircraft. One thing I forgot there, engine out, acceleration altitude 1520. Here we go, and that's it. Perfect. Okay, then let's go ahead with our FCU. We'll do 7,000, that stuff is good, and we'll leave all that good stuff pretty much the way it is. Okay, so I'd say that for our preparation, we're pretty much ready to go. So there isn't all that much more for us to do, and we're done within 15 minutes. Pretty nice, isn't it? Now, nonetheless, let's go ahead and have a little look around the aircraft by doing a little walk around, because hey, it is brand new textures that we can find over here, and we do certainly want to check those out. So we are just about going to go to the other side and start our standard A320 walk around procedure, and this is the high definition textures that we can download from the marketplace. So that is a little improved textures over our previous videos, so that is indeed looking pretty good, I have to say. It's a very good level of detail that we find on this aircraft, and even if you go, for example, inside the cargo holds, well, there could be a little more detail down here on the floor, for example, but overall, for a default aircraft, I do have to say that this is looking pretty good. I mean, do just have a look at the beacon over here, and you can immediately see what I mean. Good texturing quality all over. Overall, a well done job, if you ask me. Alright, I'm not going to go too much into the exact details. We are going to have a closer look at the aircraft at a later point again, that is for sure. But from what I can see right now, it is actually a pretty good looking plane. Okay then, let's get to the landing gear, have a look at that. Ooh, look at how those hydraulic lines have vanished. See how there are some hydraulic lines located over here? If we get closer to that, now they're staying, that's interesting, and now they're gone. Not exactly sure what seems to cause that, but that bug was present in the beta, and looks like it still is right now as well. Same on the front there. If we're looking up, then we can see those hydraulic pipes down there. If we are looking down, all of a sudden they're gone. Okay, well, maybe that makes its way into service pack then. Aft cargo hold is looking good as well. In here we do have a little bit of data, or of detail, like down here you can see where containers would be fixed in place on the floor of the plane, so that's pretty much stuff that I would have loved to see in the front as well. Outflow valve is open on the ground as it should, and the rest of the airplane is looking fantastic over here. Nice sounds from the APU as well. Okay then, coming up to the front over here, that is the same stuff that we had on the other side. It's also the same bug, but let's not bother with that too much. We'll look into the rear part of the engine over here. And it is some fantastic modeling for a default aircraft. We do have to say that. We really do have to say that. Okay, excellent. So with that, we are pretty much done with our walk around. Let's run straight back into the aircraft, and we are going to do a little briefing, and then we'll take it out on the way. Okay, so are you ready for the departure briefing then? Yes, I am. So departing Faro, runway 28 via the Odemi 1 Victor departure. Initial climb 70, and MSA wise, we're just looking at about 2,000, so nothing to worry about here. Apart from that, extra fuel and time. Let's have a quick look down here if it calculates anything. Okay, here we go. 4,000 block, 9 minutes extra fuel. That is good for me. Alright, no hotspots for the taxi, stop margin for an RTO. Do we get that number anywhere? Unfortunately not, but limitation is runway length, so let's say that we do not have a great stop margin available here. Engine outside straight at 25 miles, immediate return in a faro is possible, and we are below the max landing weight, so we don't need to worry about that. Nothing special, nothing non-standard. Do you see any threats for this departure? No? Okay. So that's our briefing complete. Then we can do the cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity 3,960 kilogram balanced. Seatbelts on. ADIRS. Nav, barrel ref, QNH 1013. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Okay then, so we're running on the APU, then we can disconnect the external power. The door is closed, then we'll just close the outside doors and we can... Well, we could use GSX, but let's use the built-in pushback functionality today, because we really want to explore what the aircraft can or cannot do. Okay, so closing all doors. Let's see, cargo doors should be closing as well, and here they are. Okay, transponder on. So, ground from cockpit, go ahead. Please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and bypass pin is installed. Okay, Captain, that is all confirmed, and you are clear to release your parking brake. We're ready for push anytime. Roger, parking brake released, and call you for pushback. Before start checklist. Parking brake, off, takeoff speeds and thrusts. V1 127, VR 127, V2 130, flex 55. Windows. Closed, beacon on, before start checklist complete. Ground from cockpit. Go ahead. So, as soon as the jetway is removed, you're clear to push, runway 28, parking brake released. Roger, the jetway is going now, we're starting the pushback. We are starting the pushback. Starting. Well, there does come a tuck. Maybe we just wait for that tuck. Though that does look a little, well, worthy for improvements, maybe? Here we go. An interesting way to start a pushback, that much is for sure. But, well, I suppose you just can't have it all, right? Okay then. So, weather is QNH 1014 now. Which is cross-checked. And then you clearly start the engines. Roger, starting 2 and 1 in that sequence. Engine 2 start. Yep, the other right, please. Let's listen to that startup. Not the best push of my life, but let's stop over here. And brake set. Okay, so that's a good start on number 2. Let's go ahead and start number 1, and this time we're going to monitor it. So there is a little bit of delay there in the initiation of the engine start. That is probably quite realistic. We can see on the start valve down here that it's open and igniter A is used. As N2 runs up, we get some oil pressure and we do get an N1. I do really like how quickly the N1 starts spooling up when you're at higher N2 numbers. That is quite realistic. Okay, and fuel flow is coming in. Well, that engine page went away a little early there. You can see the start valve is even still open. It certainly should have stayed for a bit longer. Basically until the avail light is on and then a couple seconds more. Not exactly sure how many seconds. Okay, here's the avail, so with that we can go ahead and do the after start procedures now. Okay, ground, we've got 2 good starts. You're clear to disconnect, shown with the sign on the left side. Please have a wonderful day. Bye now. Okay, after start checklist, please. Anti-ice, off, ecam status. Now this is a little bit strange. I did turn a pack off, as is part of the Airbus Green operating procedures, so we should have a pack indication on the status page here. But okay, ecam status checked. Let's see if the pack actually went off. No, it didn't. Okay, well, it did close over here, but the valve should have closed down here. Well, okay. At least if the valve is not closed, then obviously we don't get a status indication, so that part is correct. Okay, so pitch trim. We've got that at 30%, and rudder trim, neutral, after start checklist complete. So, brake off, lights on, clear right side, clear left side. So the plane does taxi on idle. That is pretty nice. That's exactly what it should do. Now, most aircraft with the latest engine generation, like the LEAP engines, but also, for example, the GE90 engines, etc., those things do taxi while they are on idle thrust. Remember, idle thrust doesn't mean no thrust. It just means that you've got a little bit, well, you got the least power at which the engine is securely running and producing all the demands that are required, like the sufficient air pressure, of course maintain self-sustaining RPMs, etc. Okay, so we are going to go clear of the apron, and as soon as we're clear of the apron, we will then start our flight control check. What we can do now is the brake check. Pressure 0. So let's get that speed down. It will accelerate in the turn. For that reason, take your speed slightly below what's needed. Now, here's the new feature of Sim Update 15. You've probably seen it in my previous videos on it, but the ground friction in turns has changed now. If you're doing very tight turns, then you are quickly going to lose ground speed as your aircraft is building up drag. However, that only applies to very tight turns, and during normal operation of an aircraft, you are not really going to run into that situation. So during normal ops, you pretty much are not going to see it unless you really go full blast into the tiller. But normally we don't do that. Certainly on a turn like this, that is not going to happen, so the engine thrust as it is quite okay. Nice default registration down here, 320. Wouldn't have guessed that. But okay, let's go back inside and we'll do the flight control check. Full up. Full down, neutral. full left, full right, neutral. And the rudder, left, right, neutral. Well, that went rather quick. Okay then. So, I don't have any updates to the takeoff briefing. We keep everything as we planned it. Okay, taxi checklist. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conf 1 plus F. Radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto. Engine start cell, norm. ECAM memo, takeoff, no blue. Taxi checklist complete. Okay, so the approach area looks pretty clear to me. I don't see anyone over there. In that case, cabin crew, prepare for departure. Lineup checklist. Takeoff runway. 28, full length. TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2. Off. Lineup checklist complete. Alright, are you ready to go? Take off. Manflex 55, SRS, auto thrust blue. Thrust levers not set, thrust MCT. Okay, here we go. That was not both levers in the notch. So, thrust set. 100 knots, checked. V1 rotate. A little bit of crosswind, but nicely countered. Positive rate, gear up. Nav, checked. Okay, we'll put the autopilot on straight away. We want to see what the airplane can do all on its own there. Because that's really what counts for the default aircraft in my opinion. Because obviously new flight simmers will rely rather heavily on automation. So, nice 15 degrees pitch, that's pretty much what we should need. Nose is coming down, well, fairly quickly, that's good. Thrust climb, climb, auto thrust. We'll turn on the first pack over here. And 10 seconds later, so pretty much now, the second pack is also going to come on. So, flap 0, speed checked, flap 0. And that's our after takeoff procedures pretty much finished. Beautiful. So that was a pretty good takeoff and a pretty good overall departure. I really have to say I am impressed. This went a lot better than my first experience with the aircraft since it got added to the simulator again. Okay then, back inside, let's see how that's flying. 3,000 feet a minute, looks pretty believable to me. Let's go ahead and continue our climb. We will go all the way up to flight level 220, which is going to be our cruising level. Set standard. Standard cross-check passing flight level 46 now. Checked. Okay, and here we are, on the way. So, beautiful look outside. Beautiful area over which we are flying down here. generally, southern Portugal is a beautiful area to fly in. Not all that much traffic, beautiful landscapes, very good air traffic control. Probably best of the Iberian Peninsula. So overall, really nice area to fly at. So a little bit of tailwind over here, nice rate of climb, 3,000 feet a minute. Let's go ahead and take a little shortcut. We're going to fly direct to Váci. So Váci direct, yes, thank you. Top of descent is right over Váci, that's fine. In about 40 nautical miles, so we will have to start our descent preparation shortly. For now, just monitoring the climb over here until we get above level 100, so that we can do our checks. Also, nice to see how the airplane is reacting to the inputs over here. That looks a lot better than what previous versions did. So, passing 10,000, lights are coming off, seatbelts can go into auto. We'll keep the constraints on because there aren't any meaningful airports along the way anyway. Then we can do clear and copy, so RadNav is clear. We'll copy the active flight plan and we can delete everything that we used to have in the fix info page. Here we go. And finally, LPPT02 as our landing runway is going into here. Cruising 220, optimum 395, good to go. Okay, while we're in the climb and on the way out, let's go ahead and have a quick look into the passenger cabin. Now, again, as a reminder for you, if you didn't watch it in the beginning of the video, you can download a free enhancement pack for the A320 from Marketplace if you're on PC. On Xbox, as far as I'm aware, that is not available because it would exceed the capabilities of the platform, but if you're on PC, then you can get that package from Marketplace for free. And then we can go into the cabin, and this is what it looks like. So, I do have to say I am really impressed by that modeling, especially for a default aircraft. This is just really looking great, isn't it? Like, very good details all over the lavatories in the front over here. Obviously, well, you can't really click anything there. The click spot that is over here is probably clicking something in the cockpit. So let's just see if we did something we should not have done. But no, we didn't. Okay, that's good. Okay, then going into the passenger cabin, we do have a tiny business class cabin over here, as you can see by the room dividers. And if we just about go back a little bit, then we should find some black triangles. And indeed we do, right over here. Now, let's go ahead and have a seat over here. The black triangle in the cabin basically indicates that this is where you have the best view of the leading or trailing edge of the wing. And if we have a look at that, indeed we do. Now, as you can see, that is some beautiful modeling we have over here. The cabin is very well done, high level of detail, and at least on my computer, I don't get any performance impact. However, do have a look into the system descriptions. I run pretty much the highest end that you can currently buy, so not surprising that I don't have performance impact. I did read some comments on Discord from some people who said that they do have a performance impact, but I cannot really judge that personally. Alright, nice to hear how the sound is changing as we're going towards the back. That is really what would happen in a real airplane. Alright, and this is the aft galley, this is what it's looking like. Look at that, the doors are even correctly in the armed position. That's pretty cool. We gotta check that again on the ground to see if that is done dynamically or if that's just a static model. In any case, very good modeling back in the cabin here as well, so overall a very well done cabin, I have to say. Also some nice details on the seats there. If we just do take a seat for a moment, then you can see good modeling on the safety instruction card, on the tables. No, you cannot lower them, but come on, it's a default aircraft, it's pretty good for what it is. And on the passenger service unit at the top over here as well. Alright, so that is the cabin of the iniBuilds A320neo. Now let's go back to the cockpit and we'll do a little bit of a setup for our approach. Again, as we go through the cabin, just listen to those sounds. Listen to how the wind sound starts fading in as we go up into the cockpit. Alright, and here we are. So we just about got 1,000 to go. Vertical speed. Oh, that was a bit quick. Here we go. Plus 1,000. So, cabin doors shut, and here we go. So, I do have to say it is a very well done cabin model. It is really a very well done cabin model. I have nothing to complain about that, especially for an aircraft that comes to the simulator for free, but just like what we would expect from iniBuilds, really. Okay, alt start. You can also see that characteristic Airbus change of speed as you enter your cruising altitude. Alt cruise, and it's going down to the cruise speed. Very nice. Top of descent is right over there at VATSI already, so let's go ahead and do a quick approach setup. We'll first of all get the latest weather from our destination over here, and it's now 330 at 13, 10 kilometers, 15 degrees, 1016. Okay, so let's pre-select that. 1016 is pre-selected. And here we go. Okay, enter destination data, we'll do that in a moment. We checked the route on the ground already. What is really worth mentioning here is that you do have missed approach data, and indeed it is simply a radar vector climbing flight level 60, and that's it. So, runway is in for the performance, cabin descent rate 350 is good. Descent speed, pretty fast, but fine with me. And then let's go for our weather data. So 1016, 15, 330 at 13. 1016, 15, and 330 at 13. Transition altitude 5000 is okay. We're going to make this one config 3. That means we got to select it up here as well. Auto brake's low. And for the minimum, I just about gotta check a chart. Unfortunately, we don't have charts in here. That's a little bit of a pity there. Bing. Left wing tank low level. Okay. But it's gone again, so... Aha, here we got it. It just started transferring the outer tank fuel. So probably the left wing tank was temporarily under the threshold for the wing tank low level warning, but since it's now transferring the outer tank fuel, the problem has solved itself. Okay, nice. So we're about to reach our top of descent. Let's go ahead and initiate our descent procedure already. Initially flight level 150, and we can already start going down. Descent alt flight level 150 blue. Going up a VATSI, we do have a 280 knot restriction over here, so it should probably start decelerating in a few moments again. Thrust idle. And the target speed should change towards 280. Well, speed constraint 280. It seems to be ignoring that. That's a bit of a pity, I have to say. It shouldn't do that. I mean, it's flying 280, it's just not indicating that the target is 280. It's indicating the target descent speed here from the descent page. So you can see down here 0.76/301, and 301 is exactly what it's using as target there. Well, fair enough. We just want to see that it's flying down correctly, and it mostly seems to be doing that. Also note, we do have a deceleration waypoint over here at Luxut, where we have the 250 knots, so that is looking fine for me as well. Okay then. So for the approach I mentioned, we'll fly the ILS approach runway 02. That's got a minima at 530 feet. So let's go ahead and enter that. It's going to be a barometric minimum here, 530. Config 3 is in. And the MSA for the go-around is 4,000 feet. So let's go ahead and enter 4,000 for the acceleration. Looking good. A little strange here that the acceleration over here is 3 feet lower than the reduction. Should just both have been 1340, but, well, so be it. 6 minutes extra, and we'll just make a copy of the active, and that's it. Okay, perfect. So our setup is complete. We can already see Lisbon approaching in the back over there. And with all of that, let's go for the descent briefing, please. Pilot monitoring, your turn to lead the way, please. Okay, the plan is that we have an MSA of 4,600 as the highest, with a shortcut for an ILS approach runway 02. Minimum some barometric 530, go around trajectory, runway track 025, climbing flight level 60. Extra fuel 5 minutes. I do agree with all of that. The approach is going to be guided by an ILS and localizer and glide slope mode. Landing flap config 3, stop margin is about 2,000 meters. Idle reverse, auto brakes low, makes for the high-speed exit, and from there we don't really have any hotspots for the taxi in. Nothing special, nothing non-standard. Which threats do you see for the arrival? To be honest, I do not see any threats. Okay, I do agree with that. Yeah, that's it really. 1,000 to go. Let's continue our descent to level 100. And then I will put the seatbelt signs on. Let's just go into the cabin for a second. Well, first of all, let's monitor the deceleration. It's reducing towards 250 knots to reach at Luxut. Nice little point merge arrival you see over there. Basically, the arrival is designed so that we can proceed direct to the final approach point at any point from the start. And that's pretty much what we're expecting anyway, since basically there is no traffic around us at the moment. Okay, the speed is coming back nicely. We should reach 250 by the time we overfly Luxut. Thrust idle. And here we go. Overflying Luxut, the speed is down at 250, very nicely decelerated. We're catching the profile. I mean, that's just like 100 feet deviation, that is really nothing to worry about. Okay, so let's just quickly go back into the cabin and just quickly check if the seatbelt signs did go on as we turned on the switch. Yes, they did. Awesome. Very nice. Okay then. So that was fairly easy. Well, I am off the radio for a second. I'll do a very quick PA. Ladies and gentlemen, from Flight Deck, this is your captain speaking. We've started our descent towards Lisbon with a remaining flight time of 15 minutes. Weather over there very good, clear skies, temperature 15 degrees centigrade. We'd like to thank you very much for choosing TAP on today's flight. Hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. We look forward to welcoming you again on board a future flight of the iniBuilds A320 Neo. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, and those passengers are covered. Just a quick thing I noticed. Have a look at the thrust levers over here. You can see how they are actually not in the climb notch. Like, this should be over here when the thrust levers are in climb. But they are not right now. And the airplane should complain about that. So there seems to be a mismatch between the thrust lever position and what it is actually doing. Right, reducing 230 knots, as per the star. And I'll tell you what, let's take a little shortcut towards PSX. We're just going to fly ourselves directly onto the final here. So, PSX, direct 2, thank you. Resetting the profile here back towards 250, since we basically didn't overfly the point that had the 230 restriction, so it's gone from the memory. Alright, so down towards 4000, set QNH. QNH 1016 cross-check passing 11.4. Now, checked. And that's it. Thrust idle. Okay, landing lights coming on, constraints, LS, and we have GPS primary with a high accuracy, start selector is in norm. Then we can do the approach checklist, please. Barrel ref, QNH 1016. Seatbelts on, minimums, baro 530, auto brake, low, engine start cell, norm, approach checklist complete. So a little bit above the profile. Let's use that for a little experiment. We'll just go into open descent for a moment here. Let the airplane catch its speed back. And then we'll see what the speed brakes can do in this aircraft. So let's go ahead and go speed brakes out. Half speed brakes maximum you get in the A320 with the autopilot engaged. So let's see what effect they actually have now. Quick thrust check down here. Speed brakes are out as they should be. 2,000 feet a minute. Haven't flown an actual A320. Would have expected a little bit more, but it might just about be fine. Let's just see if there is a difference if I'm going full speed brake now. Because that way we can check if they're modeled correctly. No, that's not. In other words, they are modeled. Well, yeah, that bit, that's just because of the speed and the wind changes. That's fine. So the speed brakes are modeled correctly. Okay, descent alt. Then we can go speed brakes in. Retracting slowly, which is exactly what they should do. I'm not sure how long they should take, but this overall does look pretty good to me. You can see a couple of swells down there on the water. That does indicate a little bit of wind. Some people have been asking me in the comments underneath my videos if I saw a major increase or decrease in the performance with Sim Update 15. If I'm honest, I didn't see any difference at all, but I do have to say that my performance is limited to 57 frames, since 60 is the maximum my monitor can do, so for that reason I wouldn't see a difference either way, so don't take that for anything. According to the changelog, there is quite a difference, and well, if the changelog says that, then I'm sure there will be. Just not on my computer, probably. Okay, entering a little bit of turbulence here as we fly over the... Wow, look at how nicely you can see that from the outside. Yeah, just about as we start overflying that little peninsula here. Do get a bit of turbulence, pretty much expected. Beautiful looking beaches they have here. In summer this gotta be a nice place for holidays. Alright, reaching the deceleration point here in a moment. Speed limit exceeded. Yeah, don't worry about that, my friend, it's just a couple knots. Alright, overflying the deceleration point. Speed is going down towards 180, and because the speed is going to be so low at just 180 knots, the decel point is located all the way down here. But that's completely fine, that's nothing to worry about. So maintaining 4,000 till PASEX, thereafter we go down 3,000 at net though. But the plane can do that by itself, so let's just go ahead and set that altitude down. Alright, that's Alt 4000 magenta. Let's keep monitoring the deceleration over here. It's a nice wind almost calm situation that we have here, even though we are using real world weather. So a very good way to test the system and its operation. And flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Alt constraint star. Alright, I'm not going to arm the approach mode yet. I want to see how the airplane is going to handle the constraint over here. All constraint, descent blue. I want to see how the airplane is going to handle the constraint and then the continued descent towards 3000. It's basically all set up for it, so let's see what is going to happen. Speed is nicely down towards 180. Very well done by the VNAV system. Descent, Alt 3000 blue. That is a little early, my friend. That's a mile before PASEX. Technically speaking, this would be an altitude violation. From a practical point of view, let's not take it too significant here. That was just a minor deviation. Always remember, we are flying a default aircraft here, and for default that's pretty good. Okay, reaching 3000, All Star. Also, a pretty nice altitude intercept here. If you remember my first video after the plane has been added back to the Sim Update 15 beta, they have done some great progress in the meantime. Alright, Alt, reaching that famous bridge over here. So, Cat3 Dual, Autopilot 1 and 2, Lock Star, Glide Slope Blue. Flaps 2, speed checked, Flaps 2. Lock. Let's give the plane a bit of a challenge. We'll maintain 160 knots till 4 DME. Glide Slope Star. Go around altitude 6000 sat. Now the go around altitude should be white, not blue. Glide slope. Checked. Overall, looking really good though. Do have to say that. There's our field, straight ahead. Reaching the famous bridge. This is so beautiful in real life. I've flown this approach so many times on the 737 back in the day, and it is really just wonderful to fly this. Really is. Okay then, we gotta do a little bit of flying here. Gear down. Flaps 3. Speed check, flap 3. Landing checklist. Ecam memo, landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Alright, 4 DME. Speed is going back to managed. And we will fly the rest ourselves here. Autopilot off. Auto thrust off. We'll keep the flight direct on to see how the guidance is going to be for manual flight. Flight director is a very good tool in Airbus aircraft. So about 50% thrust should be what we need, with about a 5-degree pitch angle. And that's looking quite good indeed. Of course, a little bit of crosswind here, so we'll have to apply some rudder to the right shortly before touchdown to align the airplane with the center line, and then we'll also gotta try and maintain the wings level, and that is new with, or that has been greatly enhanced, I should say. Land. Well, interesting flickering of the landing there. That shouldn't happen. Of the land FMA, I mean. Nope, the warning should trigger at a dot and a half, not at one dot. Continue. A little bit of turbulence.
100.
Okay.
50. 40.
So, for real? Ignore.
20. 10. 5.
Well, nicely onto the center line. Just a little bit of wobbling left and right here. Okay, spoiler. Reverse green decel. That photogrammetry warning threw me off a little bit. They should really inhibit that below a certain altitude. Okay, manual brakes, 70 knots, and here is our exit. 28 minutes of flight time, very nice. Okay, let's vacate the runway to the right. And we'll bring the airplane completely off, and then we are going to do the after landing stuff and start our taxi towards the gate. Okay, so, apart from that little bandwidth warning there, which kind of threw me off the approach for a bit, apart from that, I do have to say that aligning the airplane with the center line was initially quite easy, also maintaining wings level during that, as you need to apply some aileron now into the wind when you kick the rudder to apply the, or to align the airplane with the runway center line. So, overall, that did look quite believable to me. I have nothing to complain about that, and coming from a German, you definitely know what that means. Okay, great. So we have completed our first little flight. 28 minutes from Faro over to Lisbon, and I do have to say those were some 28 very enjoyable minutes. Overall, the airplane behaved much better than it did with previous versions in the beta, so they really polished it. They really did polish it. And that is very much appreciated. I have to say, my criteria for a default aircraft has always been that it needs to get the user from A to B more or less fully managed. And that's exactly what we've flown today, and as you could see, the airplane brought us onto the final almost perfectly. A little bit of room to make it just perfect, but very well done. For a default aircraft, this is really all we can ask for. I wish I had default aircraft like this available back in the day when I started flight simming. Back then, for an aircraft like this, you would have paid 50 euros, and that was like 15 years back, so in nowadays money, easily like 70 or 80 euros. So, overall, very nice quality that they're giving us over here, and I really need to say that I am pretty happy with it. Okay then, we'll just take the next gate over here, so let's go lights off. In the meantime, also after landing checklist. Radar and predictive wind shear off, after landing checklist complete. Note to myself, this is not an A330. If you taxi it like one, you're not gonna get anywhere. Okay then, here we are. Guidance system is not on, but that's not a problem. We'll just park it right over here. Perfect. Okay then, park and brake set. The APU is almost available. This is taking rather long to start up, to be honest. I would have expected it to be a little bit quicker. Okay, here we go. APU avail, APU bleed on, engines off. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Let's see if they do that by themselves. So. Okay. Parking checklist, please. Park and brake our trucks. Brake set. Engines off. Wing light off. Fuel pumps off. Parking checklist complete. And that's it, my friends. The iniBuilds A320 Neo, the new default A320 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. What's my first impression then? Well, I did give quite a bit of feedback on the taxi, but in general, I think the most important impression I can give here is, wow, this is certainly the best default aircraft that we've ever had in any flight simulator. Now, they did a lot of polishing since the betas, and the release version, I do have to say, was pretty solid right now. It worked 99% like what I would have expected. Well, make that 90% because you know I have high expectations, but you could pretty much run the complete SOP and the thing did what it was supposed to do. And honestly, that is really all you can ask for. Indeed, that is pretty amazing for a default aircraft. Now, I don't want to compare it with anything yet. I do want to fly it a little bit more before we do that. But for now, I really have to say that it is a very impressive aircraft. It did an awesome job on this one. So My first impression, keeping in mind this comes for free to your simulator and it is default, a clear 10 out of 10. There is absolutely no doubt about that. So, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments below and let me know what you think about the iniBuilds A320 Neo. Now, if you're up for more, as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And finally, if you really love what I'm doing over here, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. For now though, thank you very much for watching, and I see you all again on the next one.